Friend, I want you to stop whatever you are doing right now, because what I am about to tell you could change everything happening inside your home, inside your family, and inside your future. I have prayed with thousands of people. I have stood in the homes of the broken, the struggling, the ones who cried out to heaven wondering why their blessings were not coming through, why their marriages felt cold, why their finances kept collapsing, why peace seemed to vanish the moment they walked through their own front door. And time again, I discovered something that shocked even me. Something so simple, so visible, so right in front of their eyes, yet completely invisible to their spirit. It was the color on their walls. Now, before you dismiss this, before you say, Pastor, it is just paint, I want you to listen very carefully, because God is not a God of chaos. He's a God of order, of beauty, of intentional creation. When he spoke light into darkness in Genesis, he did not do it carelessly. Every element he created carries energy, carries meaning, carries purpose and color. Color is one of his most powerful and most overlooked gifts to humanity. But here is the danger. Here is what the enemy knows that you do not. There is one color, one deceptively elegant, dangerously trendy, quietly destructive shade that is working against you right now. It is not ugly. It does not look harmful. In fact, the world calls it sophisticated. Designers celebrate it. Hotels drape it across their walls. And millions of good, faithful, hardworking people have invited it straight into the center of their homes, and they are suffering for it without knowing why. This color does not shout. It does not announce itself. It simply dims. It dims your dreams. It dims your love. It dims your creative fire. It dims the very atmosphere through which God's blessings must travel to reach you. And I am here today, right now, to expose it, to name it, and to give you something far greater in its place. Because the same God who made the rainbow made your home to be a sanctuary of glory, not a place of heaviness, not a place of confusion, not a place where hope quietly dies in the corner. Your home was designed by heaven to be a vessel of abundance, of warmth, of passionate living. And today we are going to take it back. So open your heart, open your mind, and get ready, because what you are about to hear will never let you look at your walls the same way again. I want you to think about something with me for a moment. Think about the very place you sleep at night, the place where you eat your meals, raise your children, rest your tired body after a long and exhausting day. Think about the walls that surround you, the rooms you move through every single morning before you even speak a word to another human being. Now, I want you to ask yourself an honest question, and I need you to really sit with this. Does that place feel alive? Does it feel like a place where something good is growing, where something beautiful is being built? Or does it feel, if you are being truly honest with yourself, like something in there is just dying off? I have met people who pray every day, good people, sincere people who fast, who give, who serve faithfully in their churches and communities. And yet they come to me with the same look in their eyes, a quiet exhaustion, a deep frustration. Because no matter what they do, the blessings they are believing God for simply will not land. Their relationships feel distant. Their finances feel stuck. Their joy feels like it is always just slightly out of reach. And they cannot understand why. They are doing everything right on the outside, but something on the inside of their home is fighting against them. Here is what I know after decades of walking with God and walking with people. Your home is not just a building. It is not just wood and concrete and glass and paint. It is a living spiritual environment. It breathes. It holds energy. It carries the weight of every emotion that has ever moved through it, every word that has ever been spoken inside it, every intention that has ever been set or neglected within its walls. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this. The scriptures understood this. And deep down, if you are sensitive to the Spirit of God, you understand this too. The Bible tells us that God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. He is intentional. He is precise. When he designed the tabernacle in the wilderness, He did not simply say, build something. And Nanak Dev Ji, he gave specific instructions, specific materials, specific arrangements, specific colors. Why? Because God understands that the environment you inhabit shapes the spirit you carry. He knows that what surrounds you influences what flows through you. He is not indifferent to your surroundings. He never has been. So when I tell you that the colors inside your home carry spiritual weight, I am not speaking from superstition. I am speaking from a deep and tested understanding of how God designed this world to operate. Color is not decoration. It is communication. Every shade speaks a language to your mind, to your emotions, to your spirit, and to the spiritual atmosphere of the space you occupy. Some colors, without your knowledge, close them. And this is why so many believers are living beneath their inheritance, not because God is withholding, not because their faith is weak, but because the very environment they come home to every night is working in opposition to everything they are believing for. The atmosphere inside your four walls is either cooperating with heaven or resisting it. There is no neutral ground. There is no such thing as a spiritually empty space. Something is always speaking. Something is always influencing. The only question is whether what surrounds you is pulling you upward toward blessing or quietly, invisibly pulling you down. Now, I need you to stay with me here, because this is where it gets deeply personal. This is the part that most people are not ready to hear, not because it is complicated, not because it requires years of study or theological training to understand, but because it is so close to home. Literally, it is sitting on your walls right now. It is draped across your furniture. It is reflected in your mirrors, and it has been quietly, methodically, almost invisibly robbing you of the very life God intended for you to live. There is a thief that does not knock on your door. It does not announce itself with a loud noise or an obvious warning sign. It does not come in the night like a burglar carrying a bag. This thief walks in through the front door in broad daylight, dressed in sophistication and elegance, wearing the approval of the world's most celebrated designers and decorators. It comes wrapped in compliments. People see it and say, oh, how modern, how refined, how beautifully understated. And you smile, feeling proud of your taste, feeling like you have finally created the kind of home that looks polished and put together. But behind that polished exterior, something is being taken from you every single day. The color I'm speaking about is dark gray. And I know what some of you are thinking right now. You are thinking, Pastor, that cannot be right. Dark gray is everywhere. It is on the walls of beautiful homes. It is in luxury apartments. It is in the most expensive hotels in the world. And you are absolutely correct. It is everywhere. That is precisely you meet him in prayer every morning. Do you honestly think he does not care about that? Because I want to tell you with everything inside me, he cares deeply. He has always cared. We are the ones who stop paying attention. When God gave Moses the instructions for the tabernacle, he was extraordinarily specific about color. Blue, purple, and scarlet were woven into the curtains with deliberate intention. Each one carried meaning. Each one communicated something about the nature of God and the kind of atmosphere he required in the place where he would come and dwell among his people. God did not say, whatever feels modern, whatever looks sophisticated, whatever the surrounding culture finds most appealing, use that. He chose with purpose. He designed with precision because he knew that the environment clears throat, shapes the encounter. The atmosphere determines what can and cannot flow. Now bring that same understanding into your own home. Every color you choose is either opening a channel or closing one. Every shade you invite onto your walls is either cooperating with the frequency of heaven or working in resistance to it. This is not mysticism. This is not superstition dressed up in spiritual language. This is the deeply practical reality of how God designed the world to operate, where the seen and the unseen are always in conversation, where the physical and the spiritual are never truly separate, where what you place around your body has a direct and measurable effect on what happens inside your soul. And here's what breaks my heart when I look at so many homes today. People spend enormous amounts of time, energy, and money decorating their spaces, and yet they do it completely deaf to this divine language. They follow trends. They copy what they see in magazines and on social media. They ask their friends what looks good rather than asking God what carries life. And so they end up with homes that look beautiful in photographs but feel hollow in person. Homes that are visually impressive but spiritually suffocating. Homes that should be sanctuaries of blessing, but have become, without anyone intending it, environments that resist the very things their owners are desperately praying for. God gave you color as a gift, as a tool, as a living, breathing language through which you can partner with heaven to shape the spiritual atmosphere of your most intimate space. The question is not whether color carries power. It does. The question is whether you are going to be intentional about the power you are inviting in. Now, I want to give you something. I have spent the last few moments pulling back the curtain on what is working against you, and I believe you needed to hear every word of that. But I have never been the kind of person who only identifies the problem and then leaves you standing there with nothing in your hands. That is not the heart of God, and it has never been my way. So right now, I want to shift something. I want to move from what has been draining your home to what can begin filling it. Because here is the truth that the enemy does not want you to grab hold of. For every force that works against your blessing, God has already prepared something more powerful that works in your favor. And in the area of color, He has given us not one, not two, but 5 extraordinary, life-giving, heaven-aligned shades that can begin transforming the atmosphere of your home the moment you introduce them with intention and faith. The first one is green, and I want you to think about why God made the earth green before He put a single human being on it. Before Adam took his first breath, before Eve opened her eyes for the very first time, God had already covered the ground with green. He wrapped the world in the color of growth, of life, of endless renewal. Green is the color of the heart, not just the physical organ that pumps blood through your body, but the spiritual center of your emotional world. When you bring green into your home, whether through paint, through plants, through fabric or decoration, you are declaring something powerful over your space. You are saying that life is welcome here, that growth is expected here, that stagnation has no authority in this place. The second color is gold, and please do not reduce this to material vanity, because gold carries a weight that goes far deeper than wealth and jewelry. Gold in Scripture represents the glory of God. It represents wisdom, divine insight, and the kind of clarity that allows you to recognize opportunity when it stands before you. The tabernacle was overlaid with gold not to impress visitors, but to reflect the nature of the one who dwelled within it. When you place gold intentionally inside your home, especially in your kitchen, which is the place of nourishment and provision, you are aligning your space with the frequency of divine abundance. You are saying to heaven, this household operates in the wisdom and generosity of God. Then there is red, passionate, bold, unapologetic red. This is the color of life force, of courage, of the kind of love that does not grow cold when circumstances become difficult. Red is not a color for the timid, and it was never meant to be hidden. When relationships begin to feel lukewarm, when motivation begins to disappear, when the fire that once burned so brightly inside you has reduced itself to barely a flicker, red is the color God gave you to stir those embers back to life. A red cushion, a red accent, a deliberate touch of this fierce and vital color placed with prayer and intention can begin shifting the emotional temperature of your entire home. Blue follows, and blue is perhaps the most underestimated of all 5. We live in a world that is loud, overstimulating, and relentlessly demanding of our attention. Our minds are pulled in 17 directions before we even finish our morning coffee. And into that chaos, Blue speaks like a still small voice after the wind and the earthquake and the fire. It restores, it clarifies, it creates within you a quietness deep enough that you can actually hear what God is trying to say to you. Blue is the color of wisdom and emotional honesty. It is the color that helps you look at your own life with clear and compassionate eyes rather than the distorted lens of anxiety and overwhelm. And then finally, there is white, pure, open, luminous white. This is the color of new beginnings, of clean slates, of the kind of fresh start that only God can truly offer a human soul. White does not carry the weight of yesterday. It does not hold on to old failures or past disappointments. It simply opens itself up completely to whatever God wants to pour in. And when you use white in your home with genuine spiritual intention, when you paint those walls, understanding that you are creating a canvas for divine blessing to rest upon, something shifts in the atmosphere that you can feel before you can even explain it. These 5 colors are not random. They are not the result of interior design trends or the opinions of decorators. They are gifts woven into the very fabric of creation by a God who has always understood that the world you see around you shapes the world you experience within you. Most people walk past these gifts every day without ever reaching out and taking hold of them. They settle for what looks acceptable to the world rather than what feels alive to the spirit. And in doing so, they leave on the table some of the most accessible and powerful tools God ever placed within reach of an ordinary person living an ordinary life in a home that was always meant to be anything but ordinary. I want to speak directly to you right now, not to the crowd, not to the general audience, not to some abstract group of people sitting somewhere out there in the world. I want to speak to you specifically, the person who has been carrying a quiet frustration for longer than you care to admit, the person who has been praying the same prayers, believing the same promises, standing on the same scriptures, and yet still waking up each morning with that unsettled feeling that something in your life is not moving the way it should be. I want you to hear this with every part of your being. You are not powerless. You have never been powerless. And starting today, starting with the very home you will return to tonight, you have the ability to make a change that heaven will respond to. This is what religion sometimes fails to tell people. It talks endlessly about waiting on God, about patience, about surrender. And those things are real and they are necessary, but it forgets to mention that God has already placed tools in your hands. He has already given you authority over your environment. He has already equipped you with the ability to shape the atmosphere around you. And one of the most immediate, most tangible, most accessible ways to exercise that authority is through the intentional use of color inside your own home. You do not need a large budget. You do not need to hire an interior designer or tear down walls or begin some overwhelming renovation project. You need awareness, you need intention, and you need the willingness to make one small deliberate choice and then another and then another.